We joked as a team we should create a bingo card. And then we have our text thread. And when something, hey, a guy just threw a beer can at me, while I'm doing a tour.
Bingo. Yes.
That on the back.
I once was hit with a banana in the face when I worked downtown. And it hurt. It hurt.
Yeah, the velocity, it just really...
Take the banana to the face, man.
It had a real slap.
Yeah, so it's hard to generalize, but there is certainly a lot going on in a lot of different situations. But the really great thing about hiring chefs is they always say it's never as hard as in the kitchen.
Welcome to Beats Working, Winning the Game of Events, where we share stories and strategies to turn any event or life moment into something unforgettable.
Events are wild, and the people who work in them are some of the most resilient humans on earth. If you know, you know.
So come with us behind the curtain for a look at their most memorable experiences.
As they say, the show must go on, so let's get on with the show. Welcome to another episode of Beats Working, Winning the Game of Events. Liz Philpot is the owner and founder of Eat Seattle Tours, a chef-guided food tour company that showcases the best of Seattle's culinary scene in Pike Place Market, South Lake Union, and Seattle Center. There are so many tours. There's one for everybody. Since 2015, she's been curating these private corporate tours that are designed to connect teams through vibrant flavors, engaging storytelling, and behind-the-scenes access to local artisans. I've been on one before. They're phenomenal. It was an amazing experience with a former work team. With a culinary degree from Le Cordon Bleu in Paris and a background in international business, Liz blends passion for food with expertise in hospitality and entrepreneurship, creating unforgettable team-building experiences that inspire connection long after the last bite, and the bites are delicious. Welcome, Liz. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm super pumped to be here.
Libby, what was that with King 5 that you went with?
It was, yeah.
I didn't know you did the tour. That's exciting. This is new information.
I wasn't there, and I'm so confused when you talk about your past work, and I'm not there.
I know.
I'm very confused.
But it doesn't include you. It
just brings it on us like that.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared. I just forget that you do things when you're not with me. It's very bizarre.
Okay, so Liz, you have said that food opens the door to real connection. I could not agree more, as anyone who's heard this show and my snack noises before would know. But how do you approach designing a culinary tour like this so that strangers arrive as individuals but leave as a team? And, that applies to, of course, group tours where people can sign up to go with people they don't know, but also a lot of corporate tours, you don't always know your team members very well.
No, absolutely. I take a lot of pride in this, and I fallen more in love with this aspect of what we do more and more because it's so powerful. When corporate groups are coming together, oftentimes they're doing a dinner and they're stuck by the same person all night who could be a magical person, and it could be a really wonderful connection. But you can have more of those connections. And the thing about a food tour is there's movement, there's learning, there's conversation. You don't always have to do all the talking. So it's a safe place for introverts and extroverts. And usually the guide is pretty amenable to the different dynamics. If the group is giving vibes like we've never seen each other and we just want to just talk with each other, we can adapt to that. But we do like to add our learnings if that's welcome. And, from a food perspective, sharing food, tasting food, you can learn about the small business operators that we work with. People come in, they think they know everything about Pike Place Market, everything about Seattle Center, but they haven't seen our perspective. And that's the one through the lens of a chef. And when I came into the market in 2015, it was just comedians and actors telling the story of our food, which is funny and fine. And there are great experiences doing that as well. But I feel like the people coming out of the kitchens who are also comedians, actors, and chefs are the ones who can really connect you with what we're doing here in the Pacific Northwest.
Because I haven't been on a tour yet. What kind of time commitment are we talking from like start to finish?
Yeah, they are all 2 hours long. Of course, for corporate team building events, we can customize. However, we're locked in at a certain point where we need to pay the chef a certain amount. So it's 2 hours or 1.5 hours, you're generally paying for the 2 hour experience. We try to keep our pricing pretty affordable though. In Pike Place is a little bit of a fast-paced tour because it's a market tour. The interesting thing is the industry evolves, which I would say is called modern food tourism. People have an idea based on what they did in Europe or this or that as to what they're going to be doing. And a market tour concept is really, it's fast-paced, small bites. You're on your feet, you're moving, you're learning, you're moving, you're shaking. With a restaurant tour, which is something a little bit more what we do in the Seattle Center, but still we kind of keep this fast casual concept because I feel like we can be a little bit lighter footprint on our vendors. Being from the food industry, we don't love a group of 15 people coming in on our off hours, making a bunch of trash and leaving. So we're trying to be really considerate to the vendors as well. And the fast casual concept works really well. And there's so many great ones in Seattle. So my point is, every tour is a little different, but the restaurant tour concept is a little bit different than the market tour concept. And the market tour is about 80% of our business. It's generally what people want to do and want to see. Our Seattle Center tour is newer, but we're the only operator in the Seattle Center. So we're working with Taylor Shellfish, one of the best places in the world.
Yeah,
they're amazing. Their dedication to education and the quality of what they're doing is exceptional. And bringing people into that sphere is just mind-blowing. Then we work with a dog in the park. Ramazan, who's Turkish, and he is in love with the Seattle dog. And the Seattle dog is our only dish of claim to fame, right? Otherwise, in Seattle, it's you take the ingredients that are local and you don't mess them up. You could do a French sauce, you could do an Italian twist, but the Northwest ingredients really drive a menu in the PNW. But the Seattle dog is our dish with our name in it, and it has cream cheese and a story. So we like to tell that.
I am a big hot dog fan. So
it's true.
I support this Seattle dog situation. Yeah. And I have to say, and I think it's from working with a lot of restaurants and chefs in the events that we've done that Elise and I've done over the last, 15 years. But it really is a different experience to have a chef or just someone who's really in the industry leading a tour like that. It really does feel different. You've just the camaraderie that there is in the food industry is something I've always been very jealous of. I was always like, if I leave my job in events, I'm going to go into restaurants because it's just such a great vibe. Very team oriented, very support each other. Well, at least the ones that I was with. Or worked with. And so you feel like when a chef is leading the tour that you are that you're truly behind the scenes. Like you are, you're in on the joke, you're in on the, whatever the secrets are. Yeah. It really is genuine. A different feel.
It's a more authentic conversation. And that's what people are searching for these days in this world of, pretend this is what my life looks like kind of thing. So having these real conversations is very powerful. Chef Sean on our team, he has a restaurant that he runs called Black Cat. He runs his own restaurant. He does our tours for us. He's going to take off here soon, but he worked with us for 6 years, and he can connect with his guests and just be like, hey, come hang out with me afterwards. I'll get you a burger and you can see my bar in Belltown. So it is really fun that they're able to support what they're doing as well through our network.
I love it. What is one behind the scenes vendor moment from the market or from Seattle Center or South Lake Union? Because you really are expanding across the city right now. But what is a moment that still, gives you goosebumps or the big smile or a huge laugh when you tell it? Like, what is one of your favorite behind the scenes vendor moments?
Behind the scenes vendor moments. Oh, that's hard to say. I have been doing this for a long time, and I have been this year is the first year I have not done tours. So at this point, I'm behind the computers and doing a lot of that.
Do you miss it? Do you miss being on the tour beat?
I don't, only because I have a public speaking issue, And it gives me a lot of anxiety. I mean, even if I know the topic well, it's really tough on me. And so doing that, especially if I haven't done a tour for a while, I feel like I'm not giving the guests the best experience, even though they're happy that I'm the owner and I'm sure. So I get a little bit of leeway. But I think it's better when the team that we have are doing it constantly. And actually, I will say a little bit of tangent. I think that's one of our secret sauces is the fact that I've created a way for high retention. So we're not always doing seasonal employees. We get 2 extra seasonal employees every year. And we're really clear about that. And sometimes they end up staying on and somebody who's tenured ends up taking off. But we're really trying to expand our learning because there's so much to learn. And if we can continue to learn and continue to share, then our tour is getting better and better. So that is something that I think is really special to what we do and our approach. I think, the things that really warm our team that I get feedback on is when the owners, because these are owner operated businesses. Mm-hmm. When you're in food, you're dealing with a lot of corporate. So it's very special that we are seeing the owner operators and they're putting all this love into what they do. And then we get to tell the story. So I think for them, what I hear the most is when they take them aside and they're just like, thank you. We so appreciate you. Our coffee sales went, 1,000% last month. You really supported our business. And that for them warms their heart to no end. So I think those are the moments for us that really matter. And like I said, we have a really big vendor network. And that's another part of what makes us really great is we don't have to weigh too much on a vendor. Say we're doing a lot of volume in a year. We're not going to send everybody to Beechers because Beechers won't be happy with us anymore. But we can send 4 tours a day to Beechers. And then those people have really great experience. And then we do something that's equivalent when we're doing another route. So that's a huge part of it.
Yeah. Spreading the love. Because there's a lot in the market. You're right.
How has it changed? I mean, the market had such an evolution in the last 10 years with how it looks visually and how you can get around it. I would assume that's enhanced the experience.
I think it's enhanced the experience of Pike Place. Absolutely. People are getting to vendors that they weren't as able to access as much or as easily a year ago. So I'm thinking, there was the new market edition in 2017, and then this newer edition with the Seattle Aquarium, which is stunning. I mean, it's a game changer. It hasn't helped the volume of our business, but I think overall it really shows Seattle in a very positive light. So when people are coming here for sports games and things like that, it's really looking sharp, and that matters to all tourism businesses. So I think, parking's still really tricky. So explaining to people when they have a half hour and they're like, I haven't parked yet. And you're like, parking's going to take you an hour. So all those communication aspects, dealing with people it's really important to do well. But it's a game changer for sure. It's stunning.
I don't know if the average consumer recognizes what a community cultural impact that both the market and Seattle Center have to Seattle as an identity. I mean, there's just so much vibrancy happening there that it's, Libby and I have had the opportunity to work with the market on many things over the last 15 years. And there's just so much goodness that's coming out of that, including the nonprofits that are behind it, whether it's the little kiddos or it's the senior citizens. The market is just such a magical place, I think.
100%. The community, people don't realize there's over 500 residents who live there. So the kindness from the bottom of the heart that you worked with them. It's so true. We pay the market $1 per guest who does our tour in Pike Place. And all of that goes to the PDA, the Public Development Authority or Preservation Development Authority, which is an incredible organization, really putting a lot of time and thought into making it a special place. And I think we're at about 15 million visitors a year there right now.
Incredible.
It's so wild. I mean, ideally, everything goes according to plan on a tour. But when it doesn't, when you and your team, because you're not doing the tours technically anymore, but you would if you needed to, if you had to step in, but your team of chefs, what is their go-to move when things don't go as planned? What if somebody's closed? What if the pipe burst? What if, I don't know, there was a bathroom incident. I don't know.
There's a lot of
so many variables.
There's so many variables. I would say generally call security. Everybody has security on speed dial. Keep in mind, we're in the elements of Seattle, meaning we're weather, people, homeless, a lot of different things happening around us. One of the things that really is something we have to deal with a lot is potential anaphylactic shock, medical situations. Those are scary. I get those calls, and I'm really coaching the guide, and then seeing how. And normally their instincts are really strong and they have the right steps, but then what is the whole group feeling? How do we resolve this? How do we bring them joy? Or is it a time that we say, hey, this we got to stop the tour. This is something is really wrong here. So it is a judgment call, and we really can't. We joked as a team we should create a bingo card. And then we have our text thread. And when something, hey, a guy just threw a beer can at me, while I'm doing a tour.
Bingo. Yes.
Put that on the
I once was hit with a banana in the face when I worked downtown. And it hurt. It hurt.
Yeah, the velocity, it just really
takes a banana to the face, man.
It had a real slap.
Yeah. So it's hard to generalize, but there is certainly a lot going on in a lot of different situations. But the really great thing about hiring chefs is they always say it's never as hard as in the kitchen. They're like
truly people
so much
who are
easier.
bred to think on their feet and improvise and, be like,
absolutely.
You got to have 9 lives in
is
the kitchen. So you have to have 9 lives on the tour too.
You have to have 9 lives. It's not uncommon that a vendor is closed. I always say, don't talk about the vendor before you get there. That is a moment when you're like, we're going to teachers, and this is the best cheese you'll ever have. And then their machines are
JK.
Another day, it'll be the best cheese. Yes.
Yeah. But then you're like, oh my gosh, that's so disappointing. Okay. And then they think, what am I missing?
Yeah. Well, okay, Liz, I have a question that's out of left field, but it'll come back around. I just have to know, from your vantage point, have you watched chef shows? I'm just like, have you watched The Bear or a show like The Bear? And how realistic is that to real life?
Yeah. So I watched the first season, which was excellent. I almost finished the last season, and then I just started getting really triggered and really stressed out. I have not worked a lot in a commercial kitchen, and there's a reason why I've started my own company and carved my own path and wanted to do my own thing. I've cooked food for people who've paid me for many, many years, but not a traditional commercial kitchen in the last 10 years. Our team has definitely said they're very triggered by that show because it is so real and accurate. Have you seen the show?
Yes.
Yes. That scene at Thanksgiving with Jamie Lee Curtis, it's just too much. But no, it's a great show. It's well done. They deserve all the awards they received, but I can't do it anymore.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense to me. I don't know that there's a lot of nurses that watch hospital shows, right? Why would they?
I know, but I think a lot of nurses who watch hospital shows generally say they're not super accurate.
That's true.
What I've heard. True. But yeah, I think this one is pretty spot on. I mean, it's overly dramatic, obviously, but personality type. I mean, even just the way he looks reminds me of people I've worked with.
Totally.
In your opinion, what is it about the, food tours or about really any event that can turn a corporate outing into something that really is unforgettable and really offers, either a launch pad or just a deepening point of connection for teammates?
Well, every team is different. When you're dealing with engineers versus a sales team versus a finance team, you got very different personalities. So I think the chef being really attuned to what that group is needing, but also kind of pushing them a little bit so that they can see that magical. A lot of times people don't really know what they need. And so we don't want to give them too many choices, but we certainly want to be respectful. So I think having that ability is not something everybody has. It's a gift. And I think our team certainly does. So I would say the chef guide adds that dynamic. And then creating space and being flexible and listening, not just hearing, but listening to what people are saying. And I think that really resonates with them as well. Creating space for conversation. If you're like, these people haven't seen each other in a long time, or they're meeting for the first time, getting them going, kind of letting go a little bit of me, this is what I need to talk about, and saying, hey, what are your guys' favorite food? Keep it theme relevant ideally, but kind of getting them engaged if they feel like people aren't really talking, that kind of thing.
And that really is a skill, that your team has, being able to recognize when they need to, up their conversation and speaking, and when they, can take a step back and let the corporate team like do their own thing for a little while.
Yeah. We work with a cider vendor called Locust, and they have one location at North End and one location at the South End of Pike Place. And so if people add on for $17 an alcoholic flight, we will drop them off there. And then they get more of that traditional. So they have been walking, learning, laughing, talking. Now they're sitting and focusing. So it's like the best of all worlds if they do that, and they can just linger there together if they have time, which is really fun for them.
That's awesome. That's a great add-on.
Have you had Locust cider? Do you drink alcohol?
I haven't had them. I've driven by it or walked by it. So I've seen it, and I wanted to go in, but I think I had kids with me, and I was like, I don't want to bring you in there.
Fair. It's really good if you have time to ever check it out. I love ciders. I got my culinary degree in France, lived there for 4 years. Love the French ciders from Normandy, that sort of coastal region. And these are very much a reminder of the Northwest flavor with that kind of technique. It's really good.
Do they offer a non-alcoholic option yet that you know of?
I cannot recall. I know that the owner can't drink beer. So I don't think there's any like non-alcoholic beer options is what I'm thinking. I don't think they have a non-alcoholic apple cider. That's a good idea.
Well, there's just such a boom in that industry.
Yeah.
So
Liz, that brings up a really interesting transition that you made from fine dining to leading these culinary tours. How did you make the jump from one lane to the other, and what inspired you to do that?
That's a really good question. Nobody has ever asked me that in 10 plus years.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
We got
a
that,
good question,
Libby.
because if you came over to my house, I can do comfort foods and stuff like that. I just, spent 4 hours making a lasagna last night. But what I do is sauces. My team makes fun of the people with the chopsticks. I'm the person with the chopsticks. I always have been. I love having the right plate, and fine dining is absolutely something I appreciate and I spend money for. And you are correct. That is really not what we do, because we are showing the ingredients, we're showing fast casual concepts. And I haven't really thought of it that way. We did cooking classes for a while, 4 or 5 years. And then in 2020, we decided to just focus on the food tour aspect so we could do one thing and do it really well, which I'm really happy we did that. When we did that type of dining, we would do some higher end things, but we realized people wanted more approachable, to connect with the masses, which is what we want. We want Pike Places for everyone. It's not an elitist food hierarchy. It's really, you come in and you're accepted, and that's the beauty of it. And we want to make sure our food and our food tour feels that way as well. So it's really important for us to not have any pretentiousness around it.
I love that. Yeah, it's totally relatable for everybody.
Yeah. So I think you can be both, like Sean, he's doing fast casual, like awesome, like vegan, vegetarian options in his bar. I am doing French fine dining. We're all in different places, but we're coming together on this agreed level that the ingredients are key, and buying them from the right people are key. So we can still be very authentic. And I will say this is the cool thing about our food tour. You could do it with 10 different guides, and have a totally different experience. You would
Sure.
probably, of course, have consistency around the market story, at least you better. But other than that, they have the things they want to tell you about their food background, how they think this vendor is special. And we obviously have a large vendor network, so you might not go to the same vendors as well. So that makes it kind of fun as well.
Liz, if you could give young Liz, as young meaning like elementary school, teenage years, Liz, advice on, on the girls out there listening that want to grow up and be an entrepreneur and be their, do their own thing. Like, what would you tell yourself back then?
Oh, it's actually something that I feel like I've naturally always had. And I will say this, don't worry about perfection. Fail fast, fail forward, make the mistake and tweak and make it better. We get so paralyzed by fear of doing things incorrectly or them not being the best. And we don't take any action. And there's so many people like that if you're the person who can find a way to coach yourself through it, you can. It might not be intuitive, but you can absolutely do it. And I highly recommend people focus on that skill.
That's such great advice. As a recovering perfectionist, it is something I am just now really starting to sort of get over at the age of 40. I'm making it though. I'm going to get there.
It's not easy. I also have the voice in my head always, and it certainly prevents me from doing things at certain times, but it can also protect you too and being too crazy out there. But overall, I feel like just jumping in and trying it's the best way.
Yeah, stakes at full speed.
That's right. Okay, so after everyone's had all the bites and maybe the drinks or the coffee or the cider, whatever it is, how do you keep the connection and, memories alive for your guests? Like, how do you send them off in a way that makes them feel like, what they experienced during that tour isn't going to end right there?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly encourage people to share contact information or stay in touch with the guide. Our guides have their socials. And, Sean just told me the other day, I am going on vacation with somebody I met like the first year of doing tours. How cool is that? I'm like, thanks for sharing that. I didn't know that. That's cool. So, or, they'll even, we're all professional and appropriate, but if there's really a connection with the guide, sometimes the guide will hang out a little bit longer and because they want to, and they really enjoy these people. But one thing that I've always wanted is to make sure that locals want to do our tour. So that when visitors come and do our tour, they don't think, I'm doing some sort of touristy thing. It's something that locals also want to do. And then they can also maybe connect with them and hang out with them while they're in town. And there's nothing more like special when you travel and you feel like you're getting this true local connection.
Okay, I have to ask, has there been any marriage proposals in an experience or people that have met and fallen in love? Like, is there any kind of juicy story like that? You don't have to name names, obviously.
Yeah, no, we had a marriage proposal and it just translated so well with the guide. He was just so giddy to be part of this beautiful moment. The whole tour, thank God, because every tour can be different and you don't always get a great vibe, right? And the guide
they could
can only
be total
do so
people
much.
who just don't really gel.
Yeah,
what
so you don't want to be going
that
down on one knee when you have someone yelling at her husband right next to you because he ate the bread and he wasn't supposed to. So that was a very, very magical moment, and I know that we're now part of their journey, and it's just not something you realize is going to stick, and it does, and so it's really special to be part of those moments. So I'd like to see more marriage proposals.
Yes. Marriage proposals, please. We'll do a whole tour just for you guys. I love it.
Everybody get married.
Okay, Liz, you have any tips or tricks, maybe your favorite tip or trick that you've honed over the years curating these tours and these events for people? What is one thing that you would recommend other people in the event industry who are planning or curating or even just thinking about doing something like this? What is something that you would recommend they do?
Well, I'm going to take it from the event planner perspective in that they got a really hard job. They're trying to herd cats, get dietary restrictions. And if they don't get the right one, somebody could die. Like there's more stakes than meets the eye. And I know they know what I'm talking about. So from our operator perspective, being able to really listen to them, understand their needs, make sure we're being organized and doing our part because they're doing a hard job. And so making sure that they look like the hero as well in this, because there's a lot of work that goes into it. And I think when those elements are in place, the experience for the guests is better. The experience for them is better. For us, it just works. But when things start to fall apart in terms of organization or not listening to people, it can fall apart. And all of those elements are part of the performance as a whole.
I love that. All right. Marking that in my book. Okay. Well, we could probably talk about these for hours because we love events, but also we love the market, and anyone who's been there knows what a special place it is and that there are always things that we don't know. That's why, like you said, you could go on 10 of these tours and have not completely, but a mostly different experience because the core story is the same, yes, but you're going to learn new things about new vendors and new facts and what this stairwell was for and what this building used to be. Clearly, we could have a part 2 and probably a part 3 and a part 4. But that is a wrap for this episode of Beats Working. If you've got an idea or want to reach out, email us at info@beatsworking.show. Liz, thank you so much for joining us. This was the best. And we are very excited to go on another tour very soon. And everybody remember that every detail matters, every moment counts, and no matter what, the show must go on.
Thanks for listening to Beats Working, Winning the Game of Events, where we explore what it takes to make moments unforgettable.
If you're leaving with a little more inspiration, a little more perspective, and a big side ache from all of the laughing at our funny jokes, then we've done our job.
Beats Working is a Work P2P production. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platforms.
Your support helps us keep the magic going.